The council chamber floated in the darkness of space like a massive crystal sphere. Inside, representatives from hundreds of alien species gathered around a circular platform. The air hummed with translation devices working overtime, turning thousands of languages into comprehensible speech. Ambassador Park Minji stood at the center, her dark suit crisp and professional, her hands clasped behind her back. She had waited 3 hours for this moment. Captain Han Jiwoo watched from the observation gallery above. His uniform bore the insignia of Earth's deep space fleet, though his ship was small compared to the massive vessels docked outside. He had escorted the ambassador here, but now he could only watch as she faced the council alone. High Chancellor Belthos rose from his seat. He was tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. His voice echoed through the chamber with natural authority. The human delegation may now present their petition for membership in the Galactic Council. Park Minji stepped forward. Her voice was steady and clear. Honored members of the Council, humanity comes before you in peace. We have observed your laws from afar. We have traded honestly with those who would deal with us. We ask only for recognition as a sovereign species and the protection that membership provides. A sound rippled through the chamber. It took Jiwoo a moment to realize it was laughter. Not polite chuckling, but open mockery. His jaw tightened. A massive figure stood from the front row. Overlord Thexer was built like a mountain, with gray skin covered in battle scars and eyes that glowed red in the dim light. He commanded the Vrin Empire, a coalition of warrior species that controlled a third of the known galaxy. When he spoke, his voice was like gravel grinding against stone. Protection? Thexer rumbled. What makes you think you deserve protection, human? What makes you think you could even survive without it? Park Minji kept her composure. Earth has survived for millions of years. Our species has overcome countless challenges. We believe we can contribute to the galactic community. Thexer laughed again, louder this time. He gestured to his aide, who activated a holographic display above the chamber. Images appeared in the air, showing Earth's orbital defenses. Space stations orbited the blue planet, bristling with weapons. Ships patrolled in neat formations. This is what you call defense? Thexar said mockingly. We have been watching you, humans. Your largest vessel is barely 400 meters long. Your most powerful weapon would not scratch the shields of a Vrin scout ship. You have 80 vessels in total, scattered across your star system like toys. The hologram shifted, showing the Vrin fleet. Enormous warships filled the display, each one dwarfing anything Earth had built. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Jiwoo felt his stomach drop. My empire alone could reduce your homeworld to dust in less than a day, Thexar continued. And you come here asking for protection? You should be begging for mercy. Other council members murmured in agreement. Some looked uncomfortable, but none spoke up in Earth's defense. Park Minji's face remained neutral, but Jiwoo could see the tension in her shoulders. We do not seek conflict, she said carefully. We only ask for the same rights afforded to other species. Rights must be earned, Thexar shot back. Power must be demonstrated. You humans are weak. You barely control your own planet, let alone your star system. The Council has no place for species who cannot defend themselves. High Chancellor Belthos raised a hand for silence. The Overlord makes a valid point, Ambassador. The galaxy is dangerous. Council membership requires certain guarantees of stability and strength. Earth has shown neither. We have survived first contact with hostile forces, Park Minji argued. We have established trade relations with 3 neighboring systems. We have demonstrated peaceful intent while maintaining defensive capabilities. Defensive capabilities, Thexar snorted. He manipulated the hologram again, zooming in on Earth's orbital platforms. These stations? My analysts predict they would fall within the first hour of any serious assault. Your ships are slow and poorly armed. Your technology is decades behind the galactic standard. You are not ready for membership. You are barely ready to exist, the chamber erupted in voices. Some species argued for giving Earth a chance. Most agreed with Thexar. Humanity was too weak, too vulnerable. They would be a liability to the Council, not an asset. Jiwoo's hands gripped the railing of the observation deck until his knuckles turned white. He wanted to shout to defend his home, but he had no voice here. He could only watch as his ambassador fought a losing battle. Finally, Belthos called for silence again. The Council will vote, he announced. All in favor of granting Earth membership and protection? A handful of lights appeared on the voting board. Maybe 20 out of 300 members. All opposed? The board lit up like a city at night. The decision was clear and brutal. The petition is denied, Belthos said formally. Earth will remain unaffiliated. Thexar stood again, his massive frame casting a shadow across the chamber floor. But I am not without mercy, he said, his voice dripping with false kindness. The Vryn Empire will extend an offer to humanity. Submit to our rule. Accept our governors and advisors. Pay tribute and we will ensure your species survives. Park Minji's eyes narrowed. And if we refuse? Then we will consider Earth a rogue element in our sector, Thexar replied coldly. A potential threat that must be neutralized. I will give you 30 of your standard days to decide. After that, my fleet will arrive at your homeworld. You will submit, or you will be pacified. The word pacified hung in the air like a death sentence. Everyone knew what it meant. Jiwoo had seen reports from worlds that had been pacified by the Vryn. They were lifeless rocks now, their populations extinct or enslaved. Park Minji stood tall despite the verdict. Humanity will consider your offer, Overlord. We will send our response within the timeline you have provided. See that you do, Thexar rumbled. I would hate to waste resources destroying such a primitive species. But I will if necessary. The council session ended. Representatives filed out of the chamber, already discussing other business. Earth's crisis was just another item on their agenda, quickly forgotten. Jiwoo met Park Minji at the transport dock. Her face was pale but determined. They gave us 30 days, she said quietly. I know, Jiwoo replied. He pulled out a secure communications device. I need to send a message to Admiral Choi immediately. Tell him what happened, Park Minji said. Tell him they're coming. Jiwoo typed quickly, his fingers moving with practiced speed. The message was short and encrypted. They're coming. We have 1 month. He hit send and watched the signal disappear into the void, racing toward Earth at faster than light speed. Somewhere back home, Admiral Choi Daewon would receive that message. And then, Jiwoo hoped, Earth would be ready. As their small ship detached from the council station and turned toward home, Jiwoo looked back at the Vryn fleet docked nearby. Massive, powerful, overwhelming. He wondered if Earth stood any chance at all. Park Minji stood beside him, watching the same display. They think we're weak, she said softly. We are, Jiwoo admitted. Compared to them, maybe, the ambassador replied. But weakness and defeat are not the same thing. Earth has survived worse. Jiwoo nodded, though he wasn't sure he believed it. 30 days, 1 month to prepare for the end of the world. He hoped it would be enough. The alarm blared through every ship in Earth's defense fleet. Captain Han Jiwoo gripped the arms of his command chair as the bridge of the destroyer Defiant Sky lit up with red warning lights. His crew moved with practiced efficiency, each person knowing their role without needing orders. Contact confirmed. Commander Lee Hyunwoo called out from the tactical station. 300 vessels just dropped out of hyperspace near Jupiter's orbit. Vryn signatures across the board. Jiwoo felt his chest tighten. They had known this was coming for 30 days. Earth had refused the Vryn ultimatum, and now the price had arrived. 300 warships against Earth's 80 vessels. The math was brutal and simple. All ships. This is Fleet Command. Admiral Choi Daewon's voice crackled over the comm system. Execute defensive pattern Echo. We make our stand here at Jupiter. Every minute we buy is 1 more minute for Earth to prepare final defenses. The Defiant Sky surged forward along with the rest of the fleet. Around them, frigates and destroyers moved into position. Earth's forces looked pitifully small against the backdrop of space. Ahead, the Vryn fleet advanced like a storm cloud, dark and massive and unstoppable. Engineer Nam Sora worked frantically at her station on Earth's orbital platform Guardian 3. Her screens showed power levels fluctuating as the defense grid came online. Dozens of weapons platforms orbited Earth and Mars, creating layers of protection around both planets. It had taken decades to build this network, and now it would face its first real test. Power at 90%, she reported to her team. Charging main cannons now, secondary batteries ready in 2 minutes. Her supervisor nodded grimly. Keep them hot. When those ships get through the fleet will be all that stands between them and home. Sora looked at the tactical display. The Vryn fleet had split into 3 groups. The largest headed straight for Jupiter where Earth's fleet waited. The other 2 swung wide, trying to flank around toward the inner planets. It was a standard, military tactic, and Earth had no choice but to split their forces to counter it. At Jupiter, the first shots were fired. Earth's ships opened up with everything they had. Missiles streaked through space, their engines burning bright. Energy beams lanced out, invisible except where they heated particles of ice and dust. The Vrin returned fire, and suddenly space was full of light and fury. Direct hit on Target 7, Yunwoo reported. Their shields are down to 60%. Keep firing, Jiwoo ordered. The defiant sky shook as enemy fire splashed against their shields. Evasive pattern Delta. Get us into the asteroid field. The destroyer dove between massive chunks of rock and ice. Other Earth ships followed, using the asteroids as cover. It was guerrilla warfare on a cosmic scale. The Vrin had more ships and more firepower, but Earth's captains knew their home system better. Pilot Kang Seohyun led her fighter squadron through a gap in the Vrin formation. Her cockpit was cramped and hot, but her hands were steady on the controls. 12 fighters followed her in a tight wedge formation. They were heading for one of the Vrin carriers, a massive ship that was launching its own fighters by the dozens. Target their launch bays, Seohyun ordered. If we can disable their carrier operations, we can even the odds. Her squadron dove in fast and hard. Vrin point defense turrets opened fire, filling space with deadly projectiles. 2 of her fighters exploded before they could even attack. Seohyun gritted her teeth and kept flying. She released her missiles at point-blank range and pulled up hard, feeling the G-forces crush her into her seat. The missiles struck home. Secondary explosions rippled across the Vrin carrier's hull. It wasn't destroyed, but it was wounded. No more fighters would launch from that ship today. Squadron, regroup, Seohyun called. She counted only 8 fighters still with her. 4 lost in less than 30 seconds. Return to the defiant sky for rearm. But the battle was already turning. Despite Earth's tactics and desperation, the Vrin had too many ships. For every one they damaged, 3 more pushed forward. The flanking groups were making progress toward the inner planets, forcing Earth to pull ships back from Jupiter to intercept. We've lost the Seoul, Hyunwoo reported, his voice tight. The Mumbai and the Cairo are heavily damaged and withdrawing. That's 15 ships down, sir. 15 out of 80. Nearly 20% of their fleet gone in the first hour. Jiwoo pulled up the tactical display and studied it carefully. They couldn't win a straight fight. They needed to buy time, nothing more. All ships fighting withdrawal. Admiral Choi's voice came over the comm again. Fall back to Mars orbit. Defensive formation around the orbital platforms. The Earth fleet pulled back in good order, still fighting as they retreated. The Vrin pressed forward eagerly, sensing victory. Their ships were larger and more powerful, and their commanders were confident. Why shouldn't they be? They were winning. Sora watched from Guardian 3 as the fleet limped back toward Mars. The defense platforms were ready now, all weapons charged and tracking the approaching enemy. Around Earth and Mars, dozens of platforms formed a deadly web of overlapping fire zones. Here they come, her supervisor said quietly. The Vrin fleet advanced into range. The orbital platforms opened fire all at once. Energy beams and missiles filled the space between Mars and Jupiter. Several Vrin ships staggered under the assault, their shields flaring bright before failing. 2 smaller vessels exploded, torn apart by concentrated fire. But there were still so many of them. The Vrin returned fire with overwhelming force. Guardian 3 shook violently as enemy shots hammered against its shields. Sora's screen showed shield strength dropping rapidly. Reroute power from secondary systems, she shouted. Keep those shields up. Around her, other platforms were taking damage too. Guardian 7 went dark, its power core offline. Guardian 12 exploded in a ball of fire. The defensive network was holding, but barely. On the defiant sky, Jiwoo coordinated his ship's fire with the remaining fleet. They were fighting from behind the platforms now, using them as cover while adding their own weapons to the barrage. It was working, but slowly. Too slowly. Sir. Incoming transmission, his communications officer called. It's Overlord Thexar. Put him on screen, Jiwoo ordered. The Vrin leader's face appeared, his red eyes glowing with satisfaction. Behind him, the bridge of his command ship bustled with activity. Captain Jiwoo, Thexar rumbled. I remember you from the council chambers. You stood in the gallery and said nothing while we decided your fate. I'm saying something now, Jiwoo replied coldly. Turn your fleet around and leave our system, or we'll destroy every ship you have. Thexar laughed, the sound like rocks grinding together. Brave words from a defeated enemy. Your fleet is broken. Your defenses are failing. In a few hours, we will be in orbit around your homeworld. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Resist further, and we will make an example of your world. Every human will die slowly, and we will broadcast it across the galaxy as a warning to others who defy the Vryn. Jiwoo's hand moved to close the channel, but Thexar wasn't finished. You should have submitted when you had the chance, human. Now you will learn what it means to anger the Vryn Empire. The transmission ended. Jiwoo sat back in his chair, his mind racing. They were losing. Not might lose, not could lose, but were losing. In a few more hours, the Vryn would break through. Earth's orbital defenses would fall, and then the planet itself would be at their mercy. His comm panel chimed with a priority signal. Admiral Choi's face appeared, looking tired but determined. All ships, this is Fleet Command. Hold your positions. Reinforcements are coming. Jiwoo frowned. Sir, what reinforcements? This is our entire fleet. The Admiral's expression was unreadable. Not quite, Captain. Hold the line for 30 more minutes. Help is on the way. The channel closed before Jiwoo could ask what he meant. He looked at Hyunwoo, who shrugged with equal confusion. You heard the Admiral, Jiwoo said finally. We hold for 30 minutes. All weapons, continuous fire. Make every shot count. The battle raged on. Earth ships fought with desperate courage, knowing they were buying time for something. None of them knew what. They only knew they had to hold. Somewhere behind them, Earth turned in its orbit. Billions of people looking up at the sky and wondering if they would see tomorrow. In his command center deep beneath the surface, Admiral Choi Daewon sat before a communications console. His hands shook slightly as he entered a long code sequence. It was a code he had hoped never to use, one that had existed for 50 years in absolute secrecy. He pressed the final key. The message transmitted instantly, racing out into deep space on a narrow beam that only one receiver could detect. The words were simple but carried the weight of humanity's survival. Protocol Sentinel. Authentication Alpha 7. Come home. Then he sat back and waited, hoping against hope that his message had been received, hoping that Earth's greatest secret was about to be revealed. Overlord Thexar was watching the final assault preparations when his tactical officer shouted in alarm. The Vryn commander turned toward the main display and froze. Where empty space had existed seconds before, a massive vessel now floated. It dwarfed his own flagship, which was the largest ship in the Vryn fleet. What is that? Thexar growled. Where did it come from? Unknown, Overlord, his officer stammered. It just appeared. No hyperspace signature, no approach vector. It materialized from nothing. That's impossible, Thexar said, but even as the words left his mouth, he knew they were meaningless. The ship was there, real and solid and enormous, and according to his sensors, it was broadcasting a human identification code. The communications panel chimed. A transmission request from the unknown vessel. Thexar hesitated, then nodded to accept it. A human face appeared on the screen. The man was young, with sharp eyes and a calm expression. He wore a military uniform that Thexar didn't recognize, with insignia that marked him as a captain. Behind him, a bridge crew worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. This is Captain Yoon Jaemin of the United Earth Space Service vessel Indomitable, the human said. His voice was polite but carried an edge of steel. You are in violation of Earth's territorial space. You will withdraw your fleet immediately, or we will remove you by force. Thexar recovered from his shock quickly. His lips pulled back in a snarl. You dare threaten me? I have 300 warships. You have one vessel, no matter how large. My fleet will tear you apart. You're welcome to try, Jaemin replied. The transmission ended. For a moment, silence filled the Vryn flagship's bridge. Then Thexar roared with fury. All ships concentrate fire on that vessel. Destroy it! The Vryn fleet responded instantly. 300 warships turned their weapons toward the Indomitable. Energy beams and missiles launched in a massive barrage that would have vaporized a small moon. The weapons struck the supercarrier from every angle, and the Indomitable's shields held. The adaptive barrier systems absorbed the energy, dispersing it harmlessly into space. Not a single shot penetrated the defense. On the Indomitable's bridge, Yaman watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Their weapons are even weaker than we calculated. Launch all fighters. Activate the quantum disruption array. Let's show them what real military technology looks like. Wing Commander Shin Bora got the launch order and slapped her canopy closed. All squadrons, this is Led. Launch, launch, launch. The fighter bays opened and 500 fighters poured out like angry wasps from a disturbed nest. They moved in perfect formation, each squadron executing maneuvers that would have been impossible for pilots with less training. Bora led the first wave straight toward the Vryn fleet. The Vryn forces had never seen anything like these fighters. They were fast, incredibly fast. They moved with precision that suggested computer control. But each one was piloted by a human. They carried weapons that packed more punch than some capital ships. And there were so many of them. Bora locked onto her first target, a Vryn cruiser that was trying to maneuver away from the Indomitable. She fired her primary weapon, a focused plasma lance. The beam cut through the cruiser's shields like they weren't even there and punched a hole clean through the hull. The ship began venting atmosphere and debris. First kill confirmed, she reported, already moving to her next target. All squadrons, weapons free. Pick your targets and engage at will. The space between Earth and the Vryn fleet turned into chaos. Human fighters swarmed over the alien warships, attacking with ruthless efficiency. The Vryn tried to respond, but their point defense systems couldn't track targets moving that fast. Their own fighters launched to intercept, but they were outclassed in every way that mattered. Captain Han Jiwoo watched from the defiant sky in amazement. What are we seeing? Where did these ships come from? Commander Hyunwoo was checking his databases frantically. Sir, there's nothing in our records about a ship called Indomitable. Nothing about these fighter designs. It's like they don't exist. They exist now, Jiwoo said. He opened a channel to his tactical officer. All weapons support those fighters. Target any Vryn ship that looks like it's getting a bead on them. The Earth Defense Fleet, battered and exhausted minutes ago, suddenly had new life. They moved in concert with the unknown fighters, creating crossfire patterns that the Vryn couldn't escape. Ships that had been fighting defensively now pressed the attack. On the Indomitable, Dr. Oh Minho completed his calculations. Sir, quantum disruption array is ready. I have firing solutions on 53 enemy vessels. Fire, Jamin ordered without hesitation. The Indomitable's main weapon wasn't a conventional gun or beam. It was a quantum disruption array that could create localized field disruptions across multiple targets simultaneously. When Minho activated it, 53 Vryn ships suddenly found their power systems failing. Shields dropped. Weapons went offline. Life support flickered. The ships didn't explode. They just went dark, drifting helplessly in space. Thexer watched his fleet falling apart and felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. Fear. Real, genuine fear. His tactical display showed Vryn ships being destroyed or disabled at an alarming rate. In just 20 minutes, he had lost 80 vessels. 80 ships against one human carrier and its fighters. All ships concentrate fire on the carrier. He ordered desperately. Ignore the fighters. Destroy that carrier. But the Indomitable was too well defended. Its shields regenerated faster than the Vryn could damage them. Its point defense systems shot down incoming missiles with perfect accuracy. And while the Vryn focused on the carrier, the fighters and the Earth fleet tore through their formations. Bora's squadron hit a Vryn battlecruiser from 3 sides at once. Their combined fire overwhelmed the ship's defenses in seconds. The battlecruiser broke apart, its reactor containment failing in a brilliant flash of light. That's 12 kills for Ghost Squadron, she reported, reforming for another pass, but there was no need. The Vryn fleet was breaking. Ships began pulling back, trying to retreat from the slaughter. Some attempted to jump to hyperspace, but the Indomitable's quantum disruption field prevented faster-than-light travel. They were trapped in normal space with an enemy they couldn't defeat. Jamin opened a channel to the Vryn flagship. Overlord Thexer, this is your last chance. Surrender your fleet or be destroyed. Thexer's face appeared on screen and Jamin was shocked by the change. The proud warrior looked defeated, almost broken. Behind him, his bridge was in chaos. Fires burned. Officers shouted. Alarms blared. You tricked us, Thexar said hoarsely. You hid your true strength. You made us think you were weak. We let you think what you wanted to think, Jamin corrected. You assumed humanity was primitive because our visible fleet was small. You never considered that we might be capable of deception, of planning, of patience. That was your mistake. What are you? Thexor asked. What is this ship? How do you have technology that surpasses the entire Galactic Council? We're humans, Jamin said simply. We learned long ago that the universe is dangerous. So we prepared. While you laughed at our defenses, we built this. While you plotted our destruction, we trained our people. We spent 50 years getting ready for this moment. And now you've learned what every other species in the galaxy is about to learn. Humanity doesn't bluff. Thexor slumped in his command chair. Around him, more Vryn ships were being destroyed. His fleet had been cut in half. The humans weren't just winning, they were dominating. What are your terms? He asked quietly. Immediate withdrawal from Earth's solar system, Jamin said. Your fleet will leave behind any disabled vessels for us to recover. You will return to Vryn space and inform your empire that Earth is under the protection of the UESS Indomitable. Any future attacks will be met with the same response. Do you accept these terms? I accept, Thexor said. He looked old suddenly, tired and beaten. I will convey your message to the Empire. See that you do, Jamin replied. He ended the transmission and turned to his crew. Stand down from combat operations. Let them go. The Vryn fleet retreated in disorder, leaving behind nearly 200 destroyed or disabled ships. The survivors limped away toward the edge of the solar system and jumped to hyperspace as soon as they were clear of the disruption field. They fled like animals before a predator. On the defiant sky, Jiwoo received a transmission request from the Indomitable. He accepted it immediately. Captain Yoon Jamin's face appeared on his screen. Captain Jiwoo, I apologize for the secrecy. We would have revealed ourselves sooner, but operational security required absolute discretion. Who are you? Jiwoo asked. What is this ship? We're Earth's insurance policy, Jamin replied. Built in secret over 5 decades. Hidden beyond the Oort cloud where no sensors could detect us. We've been waiting out here for 50 years, hoping we'd never be needed. But when Admiral Choi sent the signal, we came home. Jiwoo shook his head in wonder. 50 years. An entire ship kept secret for 50 years. An entire fleet, actually, Jamin corrected. The Indomitable has 4 sister ships. We didn't need to wake them for this battle, but they exist. Earth has never been as defenseless as we appeared. For a moment, Jiwoo didn't know what to say. Then he started laughing. Relief and amazement mixing together. Far beyond the edge of the solar system, past the frozen rocks of the Oort cloud, something stirred in the darkness. The transmission reached its destination after racing through space at speeds that defied normal physics. In a region of space that appeared empty on every scanner and sensor, lights began to glow. Captain Yoon Jamin was sleeping when the alarm sounded. He was out of bed and in his uniform within 30 seconds, his training taking over before his mind fully caught up. He ran down the corridor of the massive vessel, his boots echoing on metal floors. Around him, 50,000 other crew members were doing the same thing, all responding to the same emergency signal. He reached the bridge in under 2 minutes. His command crew was already at their stations, faces tense with anticipation. They had drilled for this moment countless times. Now it was real. Status report, Jamin ordered as he dropped into his command chair. Sentinel protocol authenticated, sir, his communications officer reported. Admiral Choi's signal received. Earth is under attack. Jamin felt his heart rate spike. After 50 years of waiting, the moment had finally come. Wake the ship. All systems online. I want full operational status in 10 minutes. Yes, sir. The UESS Indomitable had been built in absolute secrecy over 5 decades. When Earth first encountered hostile alien species a generation ago, leaders realized they needed insurance. Something the galaxy couldn't know about. Something that could tip the scales if humanity ever faced extinction. So they built a supercarrier. 8 kilometers long, half a kilometer wide. It carried 500 of the most advanced fighters ever designed. Its weapons could crack moons. Its shields could withstand the firepower of an entire fleet. And it had stayed hidden out here beyond detection range, with an entire generation of crew born and raised in space. Jamin had never set foot on Earth. Neither had most of his crew. They were born on this ship or on the secret construction facilities that had built it. They had trained their entire lives for one purpose, to defend humanity when all other options failed. Wing Commander Shinbora ran through the fighter bay, checking each squadron as they prepared for launch. The bay was massive, large enough to hold a city. 500 fighters sat in neat rows, each one a masterpiece of human engineering. Her pilots were climbing into cockpits, running pre-flight checks, their faces showing the same mix of excitement and fear that she felt. All squadrons. "This is Wing Commander Bora," she said over the bay-wide comm. "Today is the day we trained for. Today we show the galaxy what humanity can do. We have family on Earth, friends, people we've never met but who share our blood. They're fighting for their lives right now, and they don't know help is coming. We're going to change that." A cheer went up from the pilots. Bora smiled grimly. They were ready. These men and women had been born for war, trained in simulators since childhood. They had never fought a real battle, but they knew their craft better than anything else in life. Dr. Oh Minho stood in the science bay, monitoring power levels as the ship came alive. The quantum reactor was responding perfectly, generating enough energy to power a small planet. Around him, screens displayed readouts from every system on the ship. "Reactor at full power," he reported to the bridge. "All systems nominal. The quantum drive is ready for jump calculations." The quantum drive was their secret weapon within a secret weapon. It allowed the Indomitable to jump directly from one point in space to another, bypassing normal travel time entirely. No other species had this technology. Earth scientists had developed it from scratch, using theories that most of the galaxy considered impossible. "How long to calculate the jump?" Jamin asked over the comm. 8 minutes, sir," Minho replied. "But I recommend a full systems check first. We've never jumped with a fully loaded combat configuration. We don't have time for caution, Doctor. Earth needs us now." "Make the calculations," Minho nodded and turned to his team. They began working on the complex mathematics required to fold space. One wrong number could scatter the ship across light years or tear it apart entirely. It was dangerous, but everything about this mission was dangerous. On the bridge, Jamin pulled up tactical data streaming in from Earth. The feed was hours old due to distance, but it painted a grim picture. The Vrin had 300 ships attacking Earth's defenses. The human fleet was down to 65 vessels and falling. The orbital platforms were taking heavy damage. Earth had hours at best before the defenses collapsed entirely. "Nav, plot a jump point directly into Earth's orbital space," Jamin ordered. "Put us between the Vrin fleet and the planet." His navigation officer looked up, pale. "Sir, that's extremely close range. If our calculations are off by even a fraction, we could materialize inside Earth's atmosphere. Or worse, inside the planet itself." "I'm aware of the risks," Jamin said calmly. "But we need to make an impact. Literally. Calculate it." The next 8 minutes felt like 8 hours. Throughout the ship, crew members prepared for battle. Engineers checked weapon systems. Medical teams set up trauma bays. Supply officers distributed ammunition and spare parts. Every person knew their role. In the fighter bay, Bora climbed into her own cockpit. Her fighter was larger than the others, equipped with additional sensors and communications gear for squadron coordination. She ran through her checklist with practiced ease, her hands moving over controls she could operate in her sleep. "All fighters armed and ready," she reported to the bridge. "We're ready to launch on your command." "Stand by, Wing Commander," Yaman replied. "We jump first, then you launch. I want to see what we're facing before we commit our fighters." Bora acknowledged and settled back in her seat. Around her, 500 pilots waited in their cockpits. Most were young, in their 20s. Some had families on the ship. Others were alone in the universe except for their fellow pilots. All of them were about to see combat for the first time. Minho's voice crackled over the ship-wide comm. "Jump calculations complete. Quantum drive charged and ready. We have a green light for transit." Jamin took a deep breath. This was it. 50 years of preparation coming down to this single moment. He thought about Admiral Choi Daewon, a man he had never met but who had believed in this project enough to fund it in secret. He thought about Earth, a planet he had only seen in pictures and videos. He thought about humanity, fighting for survival against impossible odds. "All hands, this is the captain," Jamin said, his voice steady and clear. "We are about to jump into a combat zone. The Vrin Empire has attacked Earth and they think they've already won. They think humanity is weak and defenseless. We're going to prove them wrong. We're going to show them that humans don't surrender. We don't give up. And we never ever fight alone. This ship has been hidden for 50 years, waiting for this exact moment. We are Earth's secret weapon. We are humanity's last hope. And we will not fail. He paused, letting his words sink in throughout the massive vessel. Then he leaned forward in his command chair, his jaw set with determination. All hands, battle stations. Quantum drive, prepare for emergency transit. Navigation, execute jump on my mark. The bridge crew responded with crisp acknowledgments. Jamin watched the countdown timer on his screen. 3 seconds, 2, 1. Mark, he said quietly. The universe twisted. Reality bent in ways that human eyes weren't meant to see. The Indomitable folded space around itself, slipping out of normal existence for a fraction of a second. In that instant, the ship traveled across the solar system, from the outer darkness to Earth's orbit in the blink of an eye. And then they arrived. Space unfolded around the Indomitable, and suddenly the enormous vessel materialized directly in the middle of the battle zone. Every sensor on every ship in the area went wild with alarm. The Vryn fleet, advancing confidently toward Earth's failing defenses, suddenly found themselves facing an 8-kilometer warship that hadn't existed a moment before. On the bridge of the defiant sky, Commander Hyunwoo stared at his display in shock. Sir, new contact. Massive energy signature. It just appeared out of nowhere. Distance 20,000 kilometers. Configuration unknown. Captain Jiwoo leaned forward, his eyes wide. Is it more Vryn reinforcements? Negative, sir. The signature is reading as human, but that's impossible. We don't have anything that big. Jamin smiled as his sensors showed him the tactical situation. The Vryn fleet was directly ahead, scattered in attack formations. Behind them, Earth's battered defenses struggled to hold the line, and right in the middle between predator and prey sat the Indomitable. Open a channel to the Vryn flagship, Jamin ordered. Let's introduce ourselves. 3 weeks after the battle, Ambassador Park Minji returned to the Galactic Council chambers. This time she did not come alone. Captain Yoon Jamin walked beside her, wearing his full dress uniform. Behind them came a security detail from the Indomitable, their presence a clear statement of Earth's new position. The council chamber looked the same as before, but everything felt different. Representatives who had ignored her last visit now watched her closely. The murmur of conversation died down as she took the central platform. High Chancellor Belthos looked uncomfortable as he called the session to order. The council recognizes Ambassador Park of Earth, he said formally. You requested this emergency session. The floor is yours, Park Minji stood tall. Honored members, I returned to you not as a petitioner but as a representative of a sovereign power. Earth comes before you today with terms, not requests. A ripple of shock went through the chamber. Several representatives began speaking at once. Belthos raised his hand for silence. Ambassador, perhaps you should explain the recent events in your system. Gladly, Park Minji replied. She gestured to Jamin, who activated a holographic display above the chamber. Images appeared showing the battle, the Vryn fleet attacking, the Indomitable appearing from nowhere, the one-sided destruction that followed, the final retreat of the Vryn forces. 3 weeks ago, the Vryn Empire attempted to conquer Earth, Park Minji said clearly. Overlord Thexar brought 300 warships to our home system. He believed we were weak and helpless. He was wrong. The hologram showed the Indomitable in its full glory. 8 kilometers of advanced military technology that surpassed anything the Council had seen before. The chamber was absolutely silent. For 50 years, Earth has maintained a secret defensive fleet, Park Minji continued. While you dismissed us as primitive, we were building ships that could match or exceed any technology in the galaxy. The UESS Indomitable is just one of 5 supercarriers we have constructed. Together they form a defensive force capable of protecting not just Earth, but any ally we choose to defend. A holographic representation of Admiral Choi Daewon appeared. The Admiral looked stern but satisfied. Members of the Galactic Council, I am Admiral Choi Daewon, Supreme Commander of Earth's United Defense Fleet. For decades, humanity has observed the politics of the galaxy. We have seen species conquered, enslaved, or destroyed because they could not defend themselves. We decided long ago that Earth would not share that fate. He paused, letting his words sink in. We built our secret fleet not for conquest but for survival. We kept it hidden because we believed that showing weakness would prevent unnecessary conflicts. The Vryn proved that philosophy was correct. They attacked because they thought we were helpless. They were wrong, and they paid the price. The hologram shifted to show captured Vryn vessels being studied by human scientists. We now possess examples of Vryn military technology. We have analyzed their weapons, their shields, their tactics. We know their strengths and weaknesses. More importantly, we have proven that human technology can defeat them decisively. Another council member stood. This one was from the Kelthani Republic, a species that had long been allies with the Vryn. You speak of defense, but you destroyed 200 Vryn vessels. That seems like aggression to me. Jamin stepped forward. The Vryn brought 300 ships to destroy Earth. We stopped them with one vessel and its fighter wings. If we were aggressive, Overlord Thexer would not have survived to retreat. We could have destroyed his entire fleet, but we chose mercy. We let them leave so they could carry a message back to their empire. Earth can defend itself, and Earth does not make empty threats. What message? Belthos asked quietly. That humanity is not to be trifled with, Yamin replied. That we will defend ourselves and our allies with overwhelming force if necessary. That we prefer peace, but we are prepared for war. Park Minji took control of the conversation again. Earth comes before this council with the following demands. First, full recognition as a sovereign power with all rights and protections that entails. Second, a permanent seat on the Galactic Council with full voting rights. Third, reparations from the Vryn Empire for the unprovoked attack on our system and the lives lost defending it. Several council members objected loudly. The chamber erupted in arguments. Belthos struggled to restore order. Finally, he succeeded in quieting the crowd. Ambassador, these are significant demands. The council cannot simply grant them because you won a single battle. Then consider this, Park Minji said coldly. Earth has proven it possesses military technology superior to anything in the Galactic Council's arsenal. We have defensive capabilities that allowed us to defeat a major galactic power. We are offering to share some of that technology with allied species, or we can keep it to ourselves and watch as the balance of power in the galaxy shifts dramatically. A representative from the Torvani Collective stood. They were an ancient species, one of the Council's founding members. You speak of sharing technology. What exactly are you offering? Admiral Choi's hologram responded. Our quantum drive technology allows faster-than-light travel without using hyperspace lanes. Our shield systems can absorb significantly more damage than current galactic standards. Our weapons are more efficient and more powerful. We are willing to share these advances with species who become formal allies of Earth. The implications were clear. Species who allied with Earth would gain significant military advantages. Those who remained neutral would fall behind. And those who opposed Earth would face technology they couldn't match. Belthos looked troubled. You are asking us to completely restructure the power balance of the galaxy. No, Park Minji corrected. We are informing you that the power balance has already changed. Earth is a major player now, whether you acknowledge it or not. We would prefer to work within the existing council structure, but we will not be denied our rightful place. The debate continued for hours. Council members argued, negotiated, and debated. But the outcome was never really in doubt. Earth had demonstrated power that couldn't be ignored. The Vryn Empire, once one of the Council's most influential members, had been humiliated. Other species wanted access to Earth's technology, and nobody wanted to be the next target of humanity's supercarriers. Finally, Belthos called for a vote. All in favor of granting Earth full Council membership with a permanent seat. This time, the voting board lit up almost completely. Only a handful of species voted against, and most of those were Vryn allies. The resolution passed overwhelmingly, all in favor of requiring the Vryn Empire to pay reparations to Earth for unprovoked aggression. Another near-unanimous vote. The Vryn Empire would pay dearly for their attempted conquest. Belthos looked directly at Park Minji. The Council recognizes Earth as a sovereign power and welcomes you as a full member with permanent seating. Ambassador Park, please take your designated seat. Park Minji bowed slightly and moved to the permanent seating area. A chair appeared for her, marked with Earth's symbol. She sat down and looked around the chamber. Many representatives watched her with respect. Some looked afraid. A few seemed calculating, already thinking about how to benefit from Earth's new position. She didn't care about their motivations. Earth was safe. That was all that mattered. After the session ended, Jamin found Park Minji in one of the station's observation lounges. She was staring out at the stars, holding a glass of water. Congratulations, Ambassador. You got everything we asked for. We got what we earned, she corrected. The Indomitable and its crew did the hard work. I just explained the consequences. Jamin joined her at the window. What happens now? Now we go home, Park Minji said. Earth has a lot of work to do. We need to integrate with the galactic community properly, establish trade agreements, form alliances, show the galaxy that we're not just warriors but partners worth knowing. And if someone else attacks? Park Minji smiled. Then we remind them why attacking Earth is a very bad idea. Back in Earth's solar system, the Indomitable orbited peacefully above the planet. Captain Han Jiwoo, newly promoted to Commodore, toured the massive vessel with Captain Yoon Jaemin. They walked through the fighter bays where Wing Commander Shin Bora was training new pilots. They visited the engineering sections where Dr. Oh Minho was already working on improvements to the quantum drive. They stopped in the crew quarters where 50,000 people lived and worked in the ship that had been their entire world. It must have been difficult, Jiwoo said, living out here in secret for so long, knowing you might never be needed. It was our duty, Jimin replied, and we were needed in the end. That's what matters. They reached the observation deck at the front of the ship. Through the massive windows, Earth filled the view. Blue and green and white, beautiful and alive. Jimin had spent his entire life looking at this planet from a distance. Now he was finally close enough to see it properly. I'm going down there next week, he said quietly. First time I'll actually set foot on Earth. First time I'll breathe real air instead of recycled atmosphere. What will you do? Jiwoo asked. Walk on real ground, feel real sunlight, meet people who don't live on a warship. Jimin smiled. Maybe find out what home actually feels like.